Honestly, my first trip here, which was September of 2013, I couldn't wait to come back home. Literally, halfway around the world. There was poverty that I'd never seen before. There was a spice to the food I'd never eaten before. I mean, everything about it, that first trip was really difficult. I went home and I was asked to come back pretty quickly. And I kind of freaked out a little bit. And I said no. I said, it's just too soon. I'm Rob Bethman. I've worked at First Rate since 1998, and I currently serve as a senior client service manager inside of our service bureau business. I recall several years ago that Dave Stone used to say that if a business were to take on the principles of God, of who He is and what He's like, how would that business operate? And it was important to Dave that First Rate be that kind of a business that operates in a way that would line up with God's character. Two of our general managers, Marshall Smith and Bo McWilliams, had talked about a vision of opening an office somewhere in this part of the world. And Marshall actually came back from a trip to Delhi and mentioned that he had come into contact with Praveen and thought that Praveen would be an ideal person to start up a business here in Hyderabad. Even though India wasn't on my radar, it just seemed like something that might be an interesting challenge. And I approached Marshall and said, hey, I want in on this. I'd like to be a part of it. That first trip, we actually stayed for 2 work weeks. The weekend in between, we went to a pretty nice hotel. And I was struck by the fact that as we were approaching the hotel, it really looked a lot like North Dallas. And there were American companies, there were big high-rise buildings, but then just a few blocks from there, there were things that looked like tents. And it was just so shocking to see such wealth and such poverty so close, and it was a reminder that the West End was the exception. The poverty was more of the norm. It was just right, it was a slap in the face. So I made that second trip. For whatever reason, I started to see the value more and more of what the team was doing here. I felt, if not called to India, certainly pulled to India. I had really developed a bond with the team here. It just became this overwhelming sense of I really want to see these people successful. I want to see it work. So I'm seeing, I guess, the bigger picture of what it might look like for a business to help transform a community. And it's easy to get on board with that and to want that to be successful. The Joy Home is a hostel run by Praveen and Jessica with some other volunteers. And this is a home where Praveen and Jessica will take in children really based on word of mouth for the fact that these kids didn't have parents the way that we would want them to have parents. They're loved and they are cared for and they're valued. It was just so awesome to see Praveen and to see Jessica and to see their constant positive influence in these kids. In America, we separate our business mindset from our mission mindset and really act like the two of those things don't intersect. In the Western world, business is viewed as corrupt, it's viewed as bad, it's viewed as if a transaction takes place, there has to be a winner and a loser. Here, business can have 2 winners. A business can help conquer some social injustices. A business could one day take a child that grew up in an orphanage and put him to work and give him a much better life than he ever would have had because of this opportunity to operate in a business. That really, I think, is where business as mission takes off. The idea here is that business and mission, those aren't 2 separate events. It's the business funding the mission, the business being an integral part of the mission, really being the lifeblood of the mission. These people, whether it be because of the caste system or just the generational poverty, they don't have a way out. To think that one day, whether it be this business or other businesses that are being started here, that they could help solve that problem, that's a very real, tangible evidence of how business could be good. It can give them a hope and a life they never would have had before. Yes, people need food, clothing, and shelter, but without a good job, how do you get any of those things? And First Rate or other businesses like us can help provide those things to a community that desperately needs it. I think what holds people back is that India is a huge country. And I think sometimes we act like if we can't solve an entire problem, we shouldn't solve any part of the problem. So we shouldn't let that stand in the way of us making some sort of progress. I mean, I get it. First Rate will never solve poverty in India, but First Rate can be a small part of a bigger solution in this community and hopefully in many communities. But I would just hate for any business person to feel like because they can't do it all, they shouldn't do anything.